Will installing a VelocityAP secondary cat delete kit really increase the power to my Aston Martin DB9 while simultaneously making it sound cooler? Let's find out. In this episode of Aston1936.com, I'm going to show you how to install a VelocityAP secondary cat delete kit. So if you follow any of the forums and blogs out there, there's quite a bit of chatter about taking out the secondary catalytic converters and replacing them with a straight pipe, essentially. It's supposed to do three things for you. It's supposed to improve your engine power and efficiency by allowing the engine to, the exhaust to breathe freer. It's supposed to sound a little cooler. Essentially, we're getting rid of one of the baffles in the exhaust system, so it's supposed to have a cooler sound. And it's supposed to reduce some weight. The secondary catalytic converters here are pretty heavy, and just a straight pipe replacement's a little bit lighter. So, of course, you're sitting there going, well, what about the environment? Is this legal? I've discussed that already in a different video. The one where I show you how to take the catalytic converter out. So why don't you check that video out with the link up here. All right, well, let's get on with getting it installed. You have to do a little prep work first. You need to get the car up off the ground. It can be on jack stands is just fine, or on your lift if you have one. You need to remove the shear panel underneath the center of the car, and you have to actually remove the secondary catalytic converter. So I have articles and videos for all three of those things that you'll find linked up here. And once that's out of the way, let's get on with getting these things installed. Parts-wise, I sourced a secondary cat delete kit from VelocityAP in Canada. Stuart up there hooked me up. And the kit shows up. It's a really nice 303 stainless steel set of pipes. They've got a nice little VelocityAP badge with their part number and manufacture date welded on here as well. You can actually see that it's a nice, basically they ran the first section, this is the exhaust header connection. They have a pipe that's nice and thick that matches the header size from most of the body of the pipe. And then they step it down at the last minute, essentially, before they run it into this, the final tail section of the exhaust. The welds are pretty nice. I don't know if they do them by hand or by machine. They've actually done a nice job here at the front, where they've got a nice weld going around here. And on the inside, they've gone to the extra work, and they've actually ground out and polished this to reduce the friction. It's all about getting the exhaust flow through here as fast as possible. So, nice job there. Their kit also included brand new bolts, 3 bolts for each flange. They sent these along. They look like stainless steel as well, which is a nice treat. But their kit did not include gaskets. So I went ahead and picked up a pair of gaskets from Aston Martin. I'm just one of those guys that I always replace the gaskets when I work on a car. So new pair of gaskets wasn't very much, and it's safe insurance, I think. And then optionally, you might want to consider having some tailpipe exhaust sealer. Aston Martin, when they talk about removing the secondary cat from the car and putting it back, they talk about using a little bit of proprietary sealer on this end, where it's basically going into the clamp and butting up to a flange. Well, I may or may not use this. I'm going to inspect the quality of the flange when I take the old section out. If it's not pitted and everything looks nice and smooth, and I see no signs that Aston used it putting it in at the factory, I'm probably going to skip this step. If I see that it's got some corrosion and pitting on the flange side, I may put a little bit of this in just to make sure it's a gas-tight seal, because this stuff sets up like cement when you use it. So if you can avoid using it, probably okay. But if you're in an area where there's prone to corrosion and stuff, you just inspect the quality of your connection and then decide. But for a couple of bucks off Amazon, it's probably worth getting. So now that we've got the old cats out, we can actually test one of the benefits that they suggested was that there's weight savings from putting in a secondary cat delete kit. So let's weigh and see what a pair of the VelocityAP cat delete pipes weighs. So together they weigh 3.868 kilograms. And my scale is probably only going to be able to manage one of the pipes, so let's see what this one weighs. So it's about 3.672 kilograms. And we'll weigh the other one. 3.662 kilograms. So basically, a pair of the new pipes weighs the equivalent of one of the old. So if you do the math and add those together, I think that's about 7.3 kilograms minus the 3.68 kilograms. So we're about 3.5 kilograms of weight savings. Sorry, 3.8 kilograms. So about 3.5 kilograms of weight savings. Convert that into pounds, it's about 7.7 pounds. And if you've seen my other blog article on the power to weight ratio of an Aston Martin DB9, I go into some detail, but I've worked out that 8.8 pounds of weight savings is equivalent to adding a horsepower. So we get roughly 7/8 of a horsepower just by putting in the lighter parts. So that's a pretty good start. You need just a few tools to install a secondary cat delete kit. 3/8 ratchet, 6-inch extension, a 13mm combo wrench, a T30 Torx bit, a universal 3/8 universal joint. It's going to be important. You need a 13mm deep socket. You're going to need a deep one, so have one of those on hand. You need a long ass extension. You can snap a whole bunch of short ones together. I happen to have this 2-footer, which will be handy, and you'll see why in a bit. You'll need a torque wrench when we're putting the bolts back in. You're going to see me wuss out and use an electric impact wrench a little bit. And an inspection light's always handy when you're working underneath the car. All right, well, let's get our VelocityAP cat deletes up there. So the first thing I want to do, if the cameraman can follow me here, is I want to make sure that the flanges are clean. And if you have a close look under here, you just want to make sure you don't have any schmutz or anything on here. If you needed to, you'd get a little emery cloth out and, sand it down a bit. Of particular importance too, though, you want to make sure that you don't have any soot or debris on this inner lip of this flange. If you have any corrosion, this is where you might want to use that exhaust paste, but mine's really smooth, so I'm going to skip it. So next up then is I'm going to loose fit the pipe up into place. And this has this cool little, what it is, the branding. And I'm going to sit this so that it's facing down. Hopefully that'll line up where it's poking out the neat little through the cutouts that are in the shear panel. So, all right, so I'm going to put one bolt in the wrong direction at the front, just to hold that from falling down and beating me. And I'm going to loose fit this clamp. Maybe the cameraman can come over from the other side here. And I'm going to I just want to get it fitted over top. Again, so it won't fall on me during the procedure. And I'm just going to get the nut and washer started on there. So, next up, I'm going to get the gasket in and the bolt in from the correct direction, just to hold everything in place. So what you might see here, and I'm going to bring the light in closer, is that there's quite a gap from the front, from the flange, the header to the front flange of this. And what I found when I was fitting the other side is I needed to use a little bit of brute force, come to the back of the car. I'm basically going to give a good solid push forward on the pipe. it's sitting in rubber hangers. So that'll let it move around. The rest will sort of suck up as we tighten up the bolts. All right, so next up, I'm going to just snug the bolts. I don't want to tighten them yet. I just want to get them pulled up tight-er. And get rid of all the slack in the system. I'm going to use a couple of extensions so that I can get back a little ways. Leave the wrench up there because it's time to torque. So the header bolts here go to 30 Newton meters. So I'm setting my torque wrench to 30. So I put a double extension together on my torque wrench to get a little bit more throw here. Certainly a bit more of a circus act. But this is the hard one to get. Eventually the wrench gets trapped in there, so then I can finally use two hands at the back here. And I'm just going to double check that. All right. So all right, well that's all three header bolts done up. So now it's time to take a crack back here at the joint. So I'm going to loosen this off just a little bit. So it's gotten kind of tight. So I want to rotate the flange around.
I'm going to need me to put the camera down.
We'll see. All right. So Mr. Cameraman, maybe if you come to this side and look straight down this way. So I'm trying to get these so that they're not going to be hanging below the shear panel. So I've kind of just got them rotated up a bit. And then I'm giving this a bit of a wiggle to get the two halves aligned. And I'm just going to run this up a bit by hand. I'm going to slacken that off just for a sec. Yeah, it feels like they're both pretty well engaged. Snug this up by hand first. And then this torques to 20 Newton meters. Setting my torque wrench to 20. All right, so probably you might want to just take a rag, clean off any oily handprints you might have, put up on the pipes. It's probably normal to get a little bit of smoke and smell from any fingerprints and things. This pipe, once it gets hot, you know, it'll burn everything off. So that's not too hard, probably 30 minutes to an hour once you've got access to it. Anyone can tackle this on their garage floor, I think. It's pretty neat do-it-yourself type kit. It's also completely reversible is what I like. I can put my old cats back if I need to. So if you check out my next video up here, it's going to show you how to put the shear panel back in properly. There's a little bit of a trick to that to get that torqued up and in place. And then down here, you can subscribe if you like to get videos like this. And down here will be my companion blog article where you'll find links to the products, so to the VelocityAP Cat Delete pipes, the gaskets, the bolts, and all that stuff. And as always, I love to hear comments from you, so if you please leave those down below. Thanks for watching.